I got in trouble one time for being in a scissor lift without a harness on. And I took offense to it. And the reason why I took offense to it, because common sense would realize that I couldn't fall out of the scissor lift if I wanted to, because there wasn't that much room on each side of the scissor lift all the way around. But he was trying to hold me to the letter of the law, and I was trying to use common sense. And I was giving him the road for the most part until he started cussing. And then I had to draw the line. And then later on, we had a beating of the minds. But just like that, tempers can flare real quick. People can get hurt. Luckily, the Lord gave me enough wisdom to not start slinging fists at work. But it was close. I had to bite my tongue, bite my lip, tie my hands a little bit, because I was afraid that I was fixing to lose my composure.
Amen.
But the Lord gave me the strength. And later on, the guy come back and apologized, saying that he was having some issues elsewhere and he might have overreacted. And we took pictures of it, and we asked the opinion of other people, because if you know things about the OSHA regulations, that makes you even more dangerous. And I know that OSHA does not require you to be tied off into a scissor lift. And the reason why is because it already has built-in handrails. The problem is that we have a company-wide policy that if we're in them, we're tied off. So yeah, I was breaking the company policy, but it happens. All right, going into number 3, it says examination of our hearts will expose any weak areas. This is from Lamentations 3:40. It says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. Or try me and test me, O Lord, and see if there be any wicked ways, right?
Amen.
That's kind of where this verse came from. It says, are you living your life to its fullest potential? It says, just as a guardian needs constant attention to keep it clean and fruitful, so it is with our spiritual lives. If we become too busy or too lazy to spend time with God, we'll see some relationship crumble. Wrong attitudes creep in, moral standards relax, and before long, we will sense a distance of ourselves from close communion with the Father. It says, God desires so much for us. He wants us to live the abundant life. And the way we do it is to periodically take inventory. By opening our hearts before God daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly, our lives become available for His close scrutiny. During a quiet time, you spend time with God, examine your heart, and before Him. Now, when you read that, what do you think about? First off, you ask yourself, what does it mean to have a life is to its fullest potential? How many of you know what your potential is? How many of you know what your lifelong desires are? You know, we were asking this question, talking with Sharon, and asking questions about when did you decide you wanted to be a lab tech, or when did you decide you wanted to be a construction superintendent? And is that your lifelong fullest ambition? You remember those questions we always talked about when we were kids? We asked those questions. And then somewhere along the line, around 16, we get driving license, we start asking different questions. And then somewhere at 18, we think we found out the answers for the questions that we was asking when we were 12. But we get a whole new set, and then along about 27, 26, we start answering some of our 18-year-old questions. But at some point, we ask ourselves, is this really what I want to do? How do you determine what your career are? How do you determine what you want to go to school for? You know, people ask me, what you going to be when you graduate college? Or do you want to join the military? And why would you want to join the military? And there's a lot of things that you can answer and ask those questions. But ain't it funny how when we think we got it all figured out, the Lord shows us something else. So when we ask about life's fullest potential, the only way we're going to get that fullest potential is when we're living life for God. That's when we start realizing that fullest potential. And we'll realize the more we lean on God, the more power He gives us, the more potential we have. It says, is your love for God and His Word increasing? What happens when you plant a tomato out in the garden, Randall? What happens first?
You water it,
Yeah, the little vine's green, ain't it? Ain't nothing on it.
sit back and watch it.
You gotta put some water and some fertilizer, keep the grass away from it, and let it start growing up.
Try to keep squirrels away.
Keep the vomits away.
No doubt. Well, then at some point in time, it starts fruiting, don't it? Now, are you like the pastor, you just get one tomato? Or do you get a bunch of tomatoes?
That ain't fair.
Well, I mean, sometimes, it's just, sometimes it's how we're taking care of. It might be the soil we planted it in. There's a lot of things that control it. It might have been a variety issue.
Yeah.
You know, I planted some apple trees and I ain't got an apple yet.
It sounds like ours.
I mean, they'll come up, they'll have pretty flowers on it, but they don't make no apples.
Yeah.
And I accuse the squirrels of stealing them, but I ain't even seen, I seen one tree had one apple on it one time, and I don't know why, but none of the rest of them ever had apples. Was it the wrong, did I plant crab apples, or, you know? It's kind of like Bradford pear. You ever seen a pear on a Bradford pear?
No,
They don't produce pears.
No, they're ornamental trees.
So you ask that question, it says, do your love increase? Normally, when we're growing our garden, it increases, don't it? Because we take that one plant and we get all these tomatoes. Yeah, usually we do pretty good.
Yeah, see you.
And you might get 25, 30 tomatoes off that one plant. Okay, let's say you get 2.
Go 3.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. You get 2 tomatoes. In those 2 tomatoes, how many seeds are in there? More than 2, though, I guarantee you. So if you were able to take all the seeds out of these tomatoes and turn around and replant them, and let's just suppose they all came up as tomato plants, what's going on?
It's increasing.
You're increasing. And the Lord's blessing you. And that's how the Lord does in our life. We do one good thing, and the Lord uses it, and He blesses it, and then next thing you know, we got 4 or 5.
Yep.
Now that's how we take back this country. You do one good thing. If you want a miracle, then you got to be the miracle. And then when you start being the miracle, you'll start seeing more miracles. Because I'll guarantee you, if you touch somebody's life, they'll touch somebody else's. That's the way the Lord works. It says, is your love for people increasing? Now that could be a different question, couldn't it? Why? Because in today's society, a lot of people like to pull back from other people. Can't trust them, can we? But why is that? Why can't we have our love for people increase? As the more God we get in us, kind of like our cup. Once our cup starts filling up, when that cup's filling up, it ain't just filling up with coffee. It's filling up with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. It's filling up with all those things that the Lord gives us. And at some point when you've had enough, or you've reached the top of your cup, stuff's going to start coming out. And we're talking about that overflow and the spilling over of that stuff coming out of your cup. Who does that affect?
Everybody else.
Everybody that's around you. If you don't believe me, turn your tea over at the table at Best Foods and see how many people get wet. Think about it. Everybody gets to share, don't they? It's the same thing.